Joined now on the Sign Force hotline by the Gamecock pitching coach, Skylar Meade. Coach, thanks for coming on again with us.
Not a problem. Excited to be back on.
Coach, last weekend you were in the regionals. The weather messed things up a little bit, pushed some games around, but you came out with the regional championship. You won all your games. You swept through it. Talk to us a little bit about the regional last weekend.
Well, it was certainly a great atmosphere. Up there in Greenville, they did a heck of a job. As the host site and stuff like that, and being a place that I've been fortunate enough to play and coach at, you knew it was going to be a great atmosphere if you got to play, them on that Saturday night game, which we did. So, it was a lot of solid defense. Hunter Taylor was amazing behind the plate. Fortunately, our pitching was very good and a lot of timely hitting and some big at-bats throughout the weekend.
Look, Coach, you guys had a little bit that first game against Ohio State. That was really the first game, or really the only game that was kind of in question. You guys were able to come back, then you guys take care of East Carolina, and then wrap it up against UNC Wilmington. As the pitching coach overall, how did you evaluate your team's pitching performances?
Well, obviously Cody and Carmen were magnificent as starters. Sawyer Bridges and Graham Lawson and Demurius and Ridge Chapman, I thought got the biggest out of the entire weekend. Striking out Packard, coming in the eighth inning of that game when it was 3-2, and Packard had already been 3 for 3 off Cody. So, you bring in Ridge there after they had tried the little slash play and gets the big strikeout and then the pop-up of William Sutton. And so, I thought it was a real group effort. Adam battled through on Friday, only gave us 4 innings, but did find a way to get out of it, only giving up 1 run, which I think is certainly still valued. And so it was really, a great job by our guys making a lot of pressure-packed pitches and executing when it was a time to do so.
But Coach, you guys have Arkansas coming up now in the Super Regionals, a team that you guys fell to in the SEC tournament, and they also beat you guys 2 out of 3 times early on in the season. But this is a different Gamecock team. You guys are playing much better baseball, more confident. Tell me, a little bit about this upcoming series.
Well, it's going to be, first off, probably the best, atmosphere in all of college baseball this weekend. There's going to be 15,000 Arkansas, fans. We'll have our little spattering of Gamecock fans in there, but it's going to be very raucous, very high intensity. And Arkansas is a great team. They have everything you could ask for. They have team speed, they have power arms, they have diversity in their bullpen, they got righties and lefties. It's a really, really good ball club. But we're a good ball club too, and we're certainly feeling good about ourselves. We're very focused. I think the key is going to be, like it always is, we got to have good starts on the mound. We're going to have to handle the baseball because, they certainly can put some pressure on you with their speed down the line and stuff like that. And so, I think the other key, and I mentioned it on the front end about this place, it's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be very loud, a lot of distractions. We just have to focus on what we can handle, and that's just playing good baseball. And if we do that, the crowd doesn't matter. It was a great atmosphere in Greenville on Saturday night, with all those East Carolina fans, and we tended to handle that well. And so having played in the SEC for a whole year, we're at least prepared and immune to some of these things. So, yes, it is another SEC atmosphere we're going into, but we will not be intimidated by that.
Skylar Meade, the Gamecock pitching coach, joining us on the Sign Force hotline. Coach, my co-host mentioned just a minute ago the series earlier in this season where you only scored 3 runs the whole weekend. That was a Gamecock team that was struggling offensively. Since that series and since the LSU series, this team has found ways to score runs. What's been the difference, and how have y'all been able to get this team hitting timely hits?
Well, we certainly changed some of the things that we did in our preparation. Coach Kingston and Coach Current and Coach Lake and the rest of the staff, they do a tremendous job with these hitters, as it is. And we really did. We changed some things and what we did in practice. And one thing I can tell you about all of our players, they're bought into anything that's going on, and they give tremendous focus and effort. And so, after that series, we certainly got going, just actually banging the ball around. But one thing I think that, to your question, that we have done a very, very good job of recent is getting those big hits, those big at-bats. You look at a Jonah Bride at-bat, on Monday against Wilmington, and, 10-pitch at-bat, and he finishes it with a home run to left field. And his approach wasn't to hit a home run. His approach was just to move the baseball. And he was rewarded, by what ended up happening. And so, against a staff like Arkansas that's going to make a lot of good pitches, they have great breaking balls. We're going to have to be disciplined, to the plan when you face the Blaine Knights and the Casey Murphys of the world. You got to stay with your approach, and you got to just understand what it is that they're going to do to get you out, or at least attempt to get you out, and then we have to battle accordingly. And our guys have done such a great job of that, especially the last 7 weeks.
Coach, do you guys stick to the same kind of pitching plan, the starters for each day, and the release guys the same way that you guys approached last week?
That'll probably be the plan. You may see another guy or two, come out of the bullpen just with some matchups. You look at a guy like Parker Coyne, who, came in that tournament game against Arkansas and struck out 6 guys, 2 in the 3rd inning. And so, not saying that he's going to, be the answer to every single game, because that would be kind of crazy to think. But, you look at a guy like him, John Gilreath, who's thrown well against Arkansas in his opportunities. We're going to play matchups. We've done it the entire year. We're not blessed with, maybe a lot of – obviously we have one left-hander on our team. We don't have a ton of experience necessarily. But we'll keep trying to put these guys in positions for success, and hopefully they keep answering the bell.
Look, Coach, it's a 3-game set, obviously. How important is that first game to go out there and kind of take control of this series?
It would certainly be, an amazing feeling to go out there and win the first game. But, the thing about it is whatever happens game 1, there's another game coming. Our job is going to be for our guys to just keep the proper mindset. So we go out there and win game 1, which is certainly our goal. There's a ton of work to be done. You lose game 1, hey, you just got to go out there and win the next day. So for us, it's going to be keeping them, properly focused. And one of the things we had said before a regional, whether you win or lose the first game, the most games you can play is 5. Now, if you win the first game, let's win that second game so you can win this thing in 3 and shorten the amount of pitchers you have to use. But like anything, you gotta understand collectively what's the best case, what's the worst case, and then know that regardless of what happens, you got to just keep the same process, same mentality to what it is you're doing.
Coach, this Gamecock baseball team is a program steeped in tradition, 13 super regionals since 1999. Yet they set a record. You set a record this weekend and this week with the most players ever drafted off a South Carolina team with 9. Coach, talk a little bit about that, about those guys being drafted, and who you think is going to stick around, who's going to go to the pros?
Well, it's hard to say, out of those 10 guys that got drafted, who's going to go and who's going to stay. Certainly one thing about these guys, if you got to be around them for one day, you realize their focus, number one, is on Gamecock baseball winning. And that's a great thing about this group of players. But what it goes to show is a couple things. One, we have a lot of older position players who have all performed at their highest level they have yet, and we have some arms that have really showcased and shined at the right time and are getting an opportunity to be drafted. You look at a Graham Lawson and Rich Chapman, Eddie Demarius. These guys weren't thought to be maybe high-level prospects coming in, but yet they've stepped up their games. They've shown some good velocity, and now they get drafted, by an organization, and they'll obviously have a decision to make come whenever our run ends, which is hopefully a long time from now. But it's awesome for the program. I mean, you look at a place like this that has all the super regionals, has the World Series. I just saw a statistic this morning since 2007, still has the 6th most wins in all of college baseball. To have the most draft picks ever, there's a little luck in that because it is an older group that can actually be drafted. But it also goes to show you, and we say this to players all the time, if your team does well, it just creates more opportunities for players, And so you give those opportunities, and you have those seniors, which I know we were so excited to see guys like Madison Stokes, Jonah Bride, and Hunter Taylor, those guys to get drafted because, those guys put their heart and soul in this program. They deserve a chance to play at the next level, and thankfully they're all going to get that opportunity.
And Coach, I believe it's like 6 guys that you guys have recruited that are in high school still that were drafted during the draft. And it makes me think that college baseball has got to be one of the hardest sports to recruit for, because you're not only competing with all schools, you're also competing with major league organizations. You talk about how challenging that could be when in the recruiting process.
Absolutely. To have 16 players, either current or future, to be drafted it's certainly a scary proposition, that's for sure. I mean, we spent a lot of time in the office the last couple of days staring at we'll put the draft up on the TV and have just been watching. And, look, that's why guys come to South Carolina. If they play in this program, they know they're going to have an opportunity to be drafted. The kind of players that we need to recruit need to be prospects. We need guys that are going to have a lot of interest from major league programs if we want to be really good. But it is not a simple process, and what people, sometimes forget is we're also a sport that, it's not just as if we say to Johnny on the street we're recruiting, hey, man, here's a full scholarship. We're doing a lot of our work in partials, and so you're sifting through a lot of things from a financial standpoint, and then you're also just trying to make sure that guys make good decisions. One thing that Coach Kingston does a tremendous job, as good as anyone I've ever seen, is he straight shoots these guys to what their best interest is, and sometimes their best interest might be going to the professional route if they're a high school kid or they're one of our current players. They might have $1.5 million sitting in front of them, and that might be the best option. But at the same token, if they're sitting there and, they're hypothetically a 19th round pick out of high school and they're getting, $250,000 offered to them, that's not going to change their life. And what they can get here, both educationally and baseball-wise in South Carolina, is going to be able to be unmatched. And so it's a battle we're going to continue to fight every single year. Will we have 10 guys drafted every year? I find that hard to imagine, but it's a good problem to have, but it's one that certainly takes a lot of time and effort to sift through. But that's why we're here, and that's a big part of our job, and we'll find a way to get it done in the right way and keep this program moving forward.
Coach Skylar Meade, we appreciate you joining us again, and hopefully we have to talk again next week, because hopefully you've beaten Arkansas and you're going on to the College World Series. Good luck to y'all against Arkansas this weekend.
Hey, thanks so much, and I hope that I am on the program again. You guys have been great, and thanks so much for the support.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
It's Coach Skylar Meade, the Gamecock pitching coach, joining us here on Fox Sports 1498.3 FM.